Gents, moving on to the next big topic, the latest transfer news and reports. We got some big names and big clubs involved already. Obviously, there's a couple of weeks until the window shuts. Paul Pogba, I want to start with him. Let's focus mainly on him because he was incredible at the weekend for Manchester United. 4 assists, tore Leeds United apart with his incredible link-up player Bruno Fernandes. Andy Edwards has reports here, the latest saying that Paris Saint-Germain are going to give him a $700,000 a week contract to sign as a free agent next summer. The Independent in the UK here has that report. What do you think about the situation? Should he go to Paris Saint-Germain? Should he stay at Manchester United? What is going to happen with Paul Pogba?
Can I answer a question with a question here, Joe?
Sure, go for it.
What is financial fair play? Like, if we're going to add Messi and we're going to add everybody that they've done this summer, and then we're going to throw Pogba on it, surely that can't actually happen, but it will. And yeah, I feel like it's inevitable at this point that Pogba eventually ends up at Paris Saint-Germain. You know, he's had a very up and down time at Manchester United, and that's not just this stint at the club. Obviously, his first stint at the club before he went to Juventus. It's just never felt like he fit there. It never felt like, I guess, maybe Manchester United and the fans or whoever it is or whatever facet of the club just really gelled and fit with him. And so it's never been a great fit. He's put in some very good performances, but he's never gotten credit for it in the way that he probably should have. He's had some stinker performances, and he's gotten way more of the criticism than he probably should in some pretty not great Manchester United teams, I'll say. So obviously he's a fantastic player. And I think that he is one of those players that you almost have to build an entire system around. And you have to put him into a very specific role where he's able to be almost a free central midfielder, kind of the way that Kevin De Bruyne is. And that's not to say they're the same type of player, but you have to give him that freedom to really surge forward into the penalty area. And if he's not your most advanced central midfielder, because you've got Bruno Fernandes, who is obviously absolutely brilliant in what he's done since he's come to the Premier League, he's always just going to be not quite as good as he could be for your team. And he's not going to quite give you everything that he could. And so it's an unfortunate situation for United that they've let his contract run down the way that they have, not able to get a deal done, probably not able to get a transfer done here in the next couple of weeks. And so he'll spend the season there. He might be absolutely incredible. He might have the greatest contract year of all time, and United will reap the benefits of that. But I do think they're going to lose him eventually because it's just never felt right. And it actually makes me question, or just at least wonder, why did he go back there in the first place? He could have gone a number of different places. I get that maybe he wanted to right some wrongs from his first time at the club, but a lot of the writing was on the wall. The signs were there, and it just didn't ever seem to fit, and it still doesn't.
Nick, it's been 5 years now since Pogba went back to Manchester United. What do you make of his play? And do you think that the partnership with Bruno Fernandes that was so good at the weekend against Leeds could maybe be a key part in him staying at Manchester United? If he's like, you know what, let's sign a new deal. I get to play with Bruno for the next few years. I'm playing a slightly deeper role, get to feed him. We link up. I've got someone on my wavelength in this United team. Or do you think for him it's just about the glory of maybe going to PSG, playing with Messi and Neymar and others? What's your take on this situation?
I think it's extremely tricky. This season at Manchester United can go in a lot of different directions. I almost feel like it's imperative that they get to December in first place or at least like within shouting distance, because you need to show Paul Pogba that the glory is there for him, that a man who was a Scudetto collector at Juventus, a man who came up at Manchester United, watching win after win at a legendary club. That's what he thought he was going back to. And so they just gave Solskjaer another a contract extension. As long as the agreement with Solskjaer is, hey, listen, you don't have to win it all this year, which is, kind of nuts, or you don't even have to finish in the top 4, then they can consider getting some money for Pogba. But at this point, I think they have to kind of go with that investment, that, what's the word I'm looking for? Sunk cost of what you've done when you brought Paul Pogba to your team. I think he's a wonderful player. I think some of the media have demonized him and caused people to think in a different way than they should about him. His stats, when you look at when players are out for Man United, he is an exceptional player in possession. I know he does give away the ball cheaply because he tries things that other players don't try, but he also wins tackles and he wins duels. And I just think there's a habit of treating him the way that he shouldn't be treated. Can PSG pull that off? Of course. Real Madrid, they have a team that's probably going to try and buy Mbappe, and they're the only team on earth that is happy to break records. They want to spend the records. So for me, it's just a matter of, are they in contention, real contention for everything they want to be in? Did they cruise through the group stage in Europe? These are the things that I want to see come December, because otherwise, what happens in January is chaos if he signs a deal to PSG. If he signs a pre-deal, forget about our lives.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is if he stays there this season and either helps them obviously get into Champions League again next season, the money that comes from that, or say win the Premier League title, or they make a deep run in the Champions League, and you trade that instead of a transfer fee, and so you lose him, it almost pays for itself if they can win the Premier League title especially, and then he leaves for free, but he was a massive contributor. I think you take that trade-off in the end.
Yeah, I just say with Paul Pogba, I feel like it's so unpredictable with his agent, Mino Raiola, Solskjaer, the relationship, that this really could go any way. I mean, I would probably expect him to either go to Real Madrid or PSG, considering he can start negotiating from January, with non-English teams to sign a pre-contract. So he's basically got 4 or 5 months to put himself in the shop window and get the best deal he can get. But you know that those teams are going to be lining up to sign him anyway because of his power off the pitch and just his incredible star power on the pitch, that you can turn it on in single moments and create great moments for those big clubs. But I actually wouldn't be surprised if he stayed at Manchester United. I think with the team they're assembling, with Jadon Sancho, with obviously Bruno Fernandes there, and then bringing in Raphael Varane as well, who he's close friends with the French national team, wouldn't surprise me if United are trying to do everything they can to keep him, if not just for his play on the pitch, but then for all the other things that come around with being the home to one of the biggest stars in the world, not just from a soccer perspective, but from a sports and an icon perspective as well. So, there's a lot to play here. I know we're going to talk about Paul Pogba probably all season long, but it's great to see him delivering in the Premier League for Manchester United. Let's all be honest. I think he will hold his hands up and say he hasn't done it consistently enough since he did arrive 5 years ago back at Old Trafford. So now is the time for him to really step up. He was great in the Euros. I think now that he's fully fit again is a huge help. He had a lot of injury issues the last few years. So let's hope, touch wood, he stays fit, and then we'll wait and see how that situation unfolds. Talking about a situation, the Harry Kane situation isn't really solving itself at the time of filming. He's back in training with Tottenham's first team for the first time. He's been included in their squad for the Europa Conference League playoff first leg against Andy's I knew I could see you already shrugging your shoulders about that. Against Pacos de Ferreira. So he's back in the fold for Tottenham. He didn't play against Manchester City in the season opener because he wasn't fit. That's what Nuno Espirito Santo said, only in a couple of sessions. But what's going to happen here, Andy Edwards? Because he could return this week against Wolverhampton Wanderers. And if he returns, there's really not that long left, is there, in the transfer window for Man City to make their move?
Yeah, real quick before that, I'd say I love that Joe now says soccer and Nick and I say football, as in we've completely traded our vocabulary here.
I didn't even notice that. So
you just said soccer. Nick and I have both said I think football multiple times here. Harry Kane, this is easy. This is very, very easy. Are Manchester United going to call Tottenham and say, here is 150 million pounds. We would like Harry Kane. If yes, you can have Harry Kane. If no, you cannot have Harry Kane. It really is going to be that simple at this point. It's never that simple in transfer deals, but it is that simple when you're talking about dealing with Daniel Levy. And I even think he has a little extra motivation to maybe just stand in the way a little bit if he can and keep Harry Kane from getting the move that he so clearly and has, I guess, through reports reiterated that he still really wants to make that move to Manchester City, just for the way that he has gone about this and the way that he's gone about it, most recently, not reporting when everybody reportedly thought that he was going to. We don't know what the actual truth is, but all of the other England players that were in that team that went to the European Championship final on July 11th almost to a man, were back in their teams on the weekend because they had their vacations, they had their time off, they had their individual fitness and training regimen that they undertook to get themselves ready for preseason, and they reported to preseason at a time that they could get through COVID testing, they could get cleared to join the rest of the squad, they could get in enough training sessions to then be available for selection this weekend. All of them but Harry Kane. And we should also point out all of them but Harry Kane, England captain, were available and back and ready to play for their club. So I don't think Kane is getting enough stick for the way that he has handled that and the way that he is conducting himself through this, because there are a lot of players who have tried to agitate for transfers in the past, and they've gone about it in this exact same way, and they have been slammed, whether through the press, whether by their clubs, whether by the fans, whoever. They get what they deserve just in terms of what the opinion and the narrative becomes around them. And I still feel like we're talking about Harry Kane. Well, he's just a good old guy. He's just trying to get the move that he really wants. He's got a contract for 3 more years. He's got a job to do, and he needs to be doing that job to show that maybe if he wants a bigger job, he wants a better job, that he is deserving of that.
So I went to Tottenham Manchester City at the weekend, obviously, and I walked around the stadium before the game, and I actually thought it was the best opportunity just to speak to Tottenham fans and see how they felt about the situation. And it was quite mixed. Some fans were saying, it's a disgrace the way he's acted. There's a way to do things. We're all grown-ups here. He's been good for us. We've been good for him. We've given him a chance to play in the Premier League, and he's obviously been excellent the last few years since he got into the first team. But just own the situation. If you want to leave, put in a transfer request and go. And then we can all say, shake hands and applaud him when he comes back, and we'll all understand it. Because he's not the first Tottenham player to move on to a Manchester City or a Real Madrid or a club that's challenging for the trophies at the top. Modric, Gareth Bale, Kyle Walker, the list goes on and on. And the way the situation's been handled, I think, annoyed a lot of Tottenham fans that I was speaking to. But on the flip side, there were still a lot of Tottenham fans that said, you know what, good luck to him. I'd do the same if I was in this situation. It's a short career. He wants to win trophies. He's probably stayed a few more years than he actually had to. He could have pushed for this a few seasons ago. So the opinion was quite divided. I found it really interesting walking around the stadium in North London, to talk with people who care dearly about Tottenham Hotspur. On the other side of North London, Nick Mendola, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has been linked with a move to Barcelona, who I know are a club that you hold close to your heart. There's talk of Felipe Coutinho coming back to Arsenal, or coming back to the Premier League, coming to Arsenal as part of the deal in a swap deal. Very strange. Would you do that deal? Is that a deal that makes any sense, letting your top goal scorer and captain go and replacing him with a slightly younger, playmaker, but someone who hasn't been fit or in form for many, many seasons? I mean, this is a strange one because Barcelona are just surely trying to get Coutinho's wages off the book given their financial situation.
I mean, is Aubameyang an absolute problem and we don't realize it? Is he a captain for a show, so to speak? Sometimes we see this in hockey. Someone's made the captain, even though they don't really deserve it because it placates them. Remember, there's a guy who was suspended last year who was kept out of a team for breaking team rules, and Mikel Arteta made it very clear that wasn't the first time that it had happened. I just don't see how this happens in almost any way. I look at Barcelona right now. They just had Gerard Piqué take a pay cut in order to register Memphis Depay and Eric Garcia, who started for them. That happened on the eve of the season just to get 2 starters into the lineup. They just let an absolutely... There's no word to describe how good Lionel Messi is. You can't just say legendary, world-class, GOAT, best of all time. He's Lionel Messi. We may describe further playmakers as how messy they are. So I just don't think Barcelona can make this happen. Now, it was weird to me to not see Hector Bellerin out there against a team like Brentford, even knowing that he's been linked with an exit for a while. And I was just very curious. I want to know if Mikel Arteta is following the Frank Lampard playbook. I'm just going to play these kids because that's what the media wants me to do, play English kids. And I just don't know. Arteta is the question here. Because if I'm Aubameyang, there's certainly a way. Andy's pointed out, they signed him to a massive contract to Aubameyang, and he might not still have it in him, but he has more than what we've seen That's for darn sure. And Lacazette and him should be enough to keep you in the top 7 all year.
Yeah, and both those players missed out in the opening game against Brentford. They were reported to have an illness. So right before that game, they did not take any part. And it'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of conspiracy theories going on out there why that was. Are they both leaving? Are deals being lined up? Obviously, Arsenal been linked with the likes of James Maddison from Leicester. And then you look at Martin Odegaard, who was on loan. There's a big push for him to come back permanently from Real Madrid. So they're going to have to balance the books. They haven't got European football this season for the first time in a long, long time. And you get the feeling that Arsenal, they're pinching the pennies. They aren't spending as big as they did previously. And a lot of the names we're mentioning, Bellerin, Aubameyang, Lacazette, they're big personalities in this dressing room. And Arteta, since he came in day one, he's tried to wrestle that control of the dressing room at Arsenal, whether it be Mesut Ozil leaving and Aubameyang now, like you said, Nick, disciplining him for a few things. So I think that's a big problem behind the scenes there at Arsenal. So we do expect a lot of deals to happen late in the transfer window. Of course, it will shut when we are 3 games into the new Premier League season. So it will be interesting to see if certain teams panic or if certain teams like, you know what, we're only 3 games in, we trust our squads. And then a few weeks down the line, are like, oh, we should have done some more business late in the window. But here at Pro Soccer Talk and NBCSports.com, we'll keep you updated with all the latest transfer news. As I said, August 31st is the deadline for the summer window. 2 weeks away from happening. A lot of interesting times, a lot of big names are linked, and a lot's going to happen, I think, in the next few weeks.